Hey guys, I am going to be showing you today how to simplify an expression. So what you've been working on is the properties that go along with those. We just finished up distributive, and so right now what we're going to be focusing on are what is an expression exactly, and what are the parts of the expression, and then how do we simplify with one. So first, to get this started, we kind of need to do some vocab. We need to understand what all these parts are in order to combine them or work on them. So we're going to write down some vocab words for these terms, and then we are going to work on simplifying this expression as an example. Okay, so a term. A term is more or less just all of the parts that are in an expression. Now, some can be broken up into two categories, and we'll go into that in a second. But for your definition, you're going to write part of an expression. And then, for example, on this problem, I'm going to do this in different colors to hopefully show you the different portions of this. The terms of this one are going to be all of these parts. So we have 5x, 3x, -7, and we have 9 all the way over here. So those are our terms. Now our variables, those are going to be these that have the letters. So in this situation, it is an x, but it isn't always an x, and it can be different letters that are our variables. And variables are the parts that are unknown or could change, just like the word vary means that it varies from person to person or something along those lines. So variables are the parts of the expression that can change or are unknown. And those are always going to be represented by a letter. So yesterday we labeled that on our distributive property notes, we put any letter in that blank, and that is a variable on that situation. So my variables are going to be purple. Then we have coefficients. So the coefficients are what are attached to the variable. So in this situation, you have a 5, and then you also have 3x. These do not have coefficients because these ones are constant, and it means that they're just a regular number, doesn't have anybody piggybacking off of it. So for coefficient, we're going to put number attached. Attached to the variable. So basically, it tells me how many x's are there. So in this situation, there are 5 x's. In this situation, there are 3 x's. So whatever x turns out to be, we just know that there's 5 attached to it. So it's going to be multiplied by it. So in parentheses, you're going to put how many x's. I'm going to put that in parentheses so you know what I'm talking about. X's are there. Okay, so here is our coefficient. It's going to be blue. These over here are constant, so they don't have a coefficient because they don't have a letter with them. I did forget. I'm going to go ahead and label this purple because these were our variables. And then we already have the terms good to go. Okay, like terms. So like terms just basically mean like yesterday when we were combining for distributive property. These are going to be like terms. So they have an x with them, so they look similar. They do have a different number, but they look similar, meaning that they have similar properties. And then these are similar because they are both just whole numbers. That's it. We can't combine all of them together. So only these can combine with these type, and these can combine with that type. So like terms are terms that have the same parts. So you're going to put terms that have the same parts and can be combined. So in this situation, underline can, that's going to be this one and this one together, and then this one and this one together. So those can mix with each other, and those can mix with each other, but not all together. Okay, and then expression and equation. So you do need to know this, and this will kind of help you out for the future for tomorrow's lesson as well. Expressions look like this. This is an expression. So an expression is just going to be a phrase that shows numbers, letters, and mathematical operations. So you can put phrase that has numbers, letters, and plus, I'm just going to do this to shorten it, plus, minus, multiply, or divide. So this one has all of that going on in it, and that makes it an expression. Now, the difference in an expression and in an equation, this kind of hints at it. The equa basically is going to be standing for equal. So what an equation will look like is going to be, it could be an expression like this, but it would be something along the lines of like 5x equals, we can do 25. So this one has an equal sign, so that makes it an equation. That's how you spot the difference in between the two, the equal sign. So then you would just, it would say something like x equals 5. So 5 times 5 is 25, so these are equal. So that's an equation. And this is an expression. So the expression never has an equal sign in it. And it's not comparing two different expressions either. That's another part of it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through the steps of how we would go about solving this problem right here. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go through these and determine and label whether or not they are positive or negatives. Are they going up or are they going down? So when we first look at this one, this 5x, that's going to be a positive because it doesn't have anything to indicate that it's a negative in it. So on that one, we're going to put a tiny little plus sign. And we have 3x. Well, it has a plus in front of it, and it doesn't have any negatives, so it's also going to be a positive. And this one, for the constants, we have -7, basically, is what that will represent. So what we can do to make this easier so that all of our operations, these things in the middle, are all the same, is we can turn this into a plus sign, but up above our 7, we need to make it negative so that we know this is a -7. And then over here we have +9, so we're not going to do anything to that. So I changed the operation that was happening there. I'm not going to subtract now. I'm going to add. So the next thing that you do after you have that is you determine which ones are my like terms. So we already talked about that 5x and 3x are like terms, and that 7 and 9 are, or -7 and 9 are like terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to do 5x plus 3x. And then I'm going to rewrite this one also so that we can just solve them separately. So on that one, I'm going to have -7 plus 9. And then I'm going to solve them separately. That way they we can just get both portions and we'll just combine them together in the end. So here we have 5 plus 3. That's going to equal 8. So I have 8x there, and -7 plus 9. Remember your rules of addition. So when we have a negative and a positive, we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger. So the sign of the larger is positive. So 9 minus 7 is going to be 2. So I have 8x and 2. I've already used this plus sign, and I've already used this plus sign. So the only one left is this one right here. So I'm going to know that these two are going to be added together. So my final answer should be 8x plus 2. And I'm done. Basically, you're just trying to group them and then solve what you can. And then once you get to a point when you just have a variable left, then we're going to stop. All right. We're going to go to example number 1. I'm going to first identify my positives and negatives. My like terms. I'm sorry. I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to do purple is going to be my x's. So I have 3x here and I have 2x here. And then I have a 1 and a -5 that are similar to each other for this portion. So now what I'm going to do is determine whether or not they're positive or negatives. So this -3x is obviously a negative. I have a +1. I have a +2. And I have a -5. So I'm going to put a negative sign up there, do the same thing as we did earlier, and turn this into a plus, just to make things easier on us. Then I'm going to combine like terms. So -3x plus 2x. I'm going to do it equals because I need to know what that equals together. So same thing, rules of addition. Negative plus a positive, we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger, which in this case is 3. So I'm going to do -3 minus 2, and that's going to be -1x. And remember, when it's an x like that, we don't write the 1. So this is going to really just be -x. And here on this one, we have 1 plus -5. And I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the larger, which is negative, so it's -4. So my answer should be -x minus 4. And we're done.